Hey everybody, and welcome to our Arrow review discussion for the episode known as Legacy, the 6th episode of Season 1. So let's open up as always with what was your initial impression of this episode?
It was not very exciting.
No, it wasn't. Honestly, the only thing I can remember about this episode being interesting is we had a little bit of this last episode, but this is where we start to have a bit of a bond between Oliver and Diggle, and it is the first time we have a name that's not on Oliver's list. But other than that, I don't really care for this episode, which is a shame because the last episode was amazing.
Yeah, I guess I liked that he, targeted people other than the list. And he wasn't just trying to get them to stop, but he was also trying to help them. Like, he considered them victims of what his father did. And he gave them a chance to do the right thing. He offered the guy a job, and the guy was like, "No, I've got pride." Even though he wasn't offering the guy free money, he was just saying, "Here's a job so you can work for money." But he still had too much pride to take a job offer, so he would rather steal money so he can be set for life.
Yeah, that's something we don't see Oliver do as much these days. I can't think of another time where he kind of offers the villain a way out. It just feels like it definitely, for some reason, as soon as I saw it just reminds me of any David Tennant episode of Doctor Who, because it's always, okay, I'll always give the bad guy a chance no matter what crap they've pulled, but the second they say no, that's it, you had your chance.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But yeah, the episode had about, what was it? I suppose the episode only had three major points. It had the plot dealing with bank robbers, and honestly, the only highlight of that is the Oliver and Diggle stuff. Honestly, that's the only highlight of the episode. You've got the Laurel and Tommy storyline, which once again is just boring, needless soap opera drama. See? Tommy wasn't in the previous episode, and funny enough, you wouldn't have even missed him. I wish he could just go away already.
Well,
Speaking of people who weren't in episodes, Quentin wasn't in this episode.
yeah.
I guess he's still mulling it over after he felt bad at the previous episode.
Maybe. But yeah, I disagree about Tommy. I find it was interesting that he was trying to, because he was trying to change his methods, I guess, because normally his way of getting girls is just saying, "Hey, I'm a billionaire, let's do expensive stuff." But after Thea's advice, he realized that wouldn't work on Laurel.
Yeah, okay, I will agree it's a slight character development for Tommy. The previous episodes he's been a bit boring and one-dimensional, but that doesn't change the fact that this will always be the least engaging plot thread of any Season 1 episode.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I mean, you had Thea being annoying in this episode, and you had soap opera drama, and that seemed to take up a good chunk of the episode.
Yeah, I guess. It wasn't that great.
The only side note is that rich other guy that Tommy and Oliver are always jealous of, I believe that actor later goes on to play Bruce Wayne in Batwoman, but that's years from now. That's not really a point of this episode, it's just a funny coincidence.
Yeah. I didn't even notice, though.
How would you haven't seen any episodes of Batwoman, so how would you know?
Oh, you're right. I'm dumb.
But well, I suppose the only other thing we're forgetting about is the flashback. But honestly,
it was a pretty small moment.
It was the shortest we've had of flashbacks, and
it was just to show us that Oliver wanted to give up on the island, and if he had a real gun, he would have just shot himself at that moment.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing. It was a small flashback, and like I said, I barely remember to include it. It's that forgettable.
Yeah.
Which, I suppose, look, there's three things you can do with a flashback. It can be amazing, like last episodes or a certain other episode. it can be really boring and slow, because there are certain flashbacks that take up a lot of the episode and they're boring, but that's not for a while. And then they could just be small and forgettable, which this one is. There's quite a few that are small and forgettable. I think in the first few seasons, they really wanted to make sure literally every episode had a flashback, whereas later on, even when they're still doing flashbacks, they sometimes forget to do flashbacks.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they were just trying to fill the quota. It was a filler of flashbacks.
I think they wanted to sort of parallel the the episode kind of revolves around families, what with the name Legacy, and it was trying to parallel with the criminal family and how the father was what caused the son to be a criminal, I guess, and because it was right as he was talking to the father that we saw the last of that flashback.
Oh yeah, it was too. But, I mean, yeah, they always like to do that in the flashbacks, and occasionally the flash forwards where they will just like to have it somehow parallel or link up to what's going on, which is just really weird how it's always, especially later on, where it's Oliver's conveniently remembering things that will be useful in the present that happen to have flashbacks that line up exactly 5 years ago. It's a good thing he doesn't have something important he needed to know from 3 years ago that happens to line up now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just the flashbacks for you.
Yeah, that's just the way storytelling has to work, I guess.
Yeah, but this episode itself is forgettable. Like I said, last episode, I couldn't remember what it was until I checked what the episode was. And even then, it isn't rememberable. It isn't memorable. But I did check what the next 2 episodes is, and they're a lot more interesting, so the season will pick up. But for now, this episode, it's barely average.
I'd give it a 5, actually.
I might give it a 6. I'm going to give it a 5.5. The only redeeming quality is we're slowly building the relationship between Oliver and Diggle, but that's the only thing to nudge it slightly above average. So it's going to be a 5.5. Not good enough to even make a 6.
Yeah, I really didn't care for it. We haven't even talked for that long, we can't think of much to say about it.
Yeah, that's fine. A forgettable short episode should have a forgettable short review. Sure, why not? So...
Sounds right to me.
Yeah, I mean, the next episode... Sometimes the titles make no sense. I'm looking at the episode... The next episode, foreshadowing, it has nothing to do with fire, by the way. I know what the next episode is. I don't know what it is. I don't know where they got the name Muse of Fire, but that's next time. Next time is Muse of Fire, so that's next time.